Stick to spying on people, Zuckerberg. All right. So we're back for our 12th workshop. We've got a lot in store today. Oh, man. The process of picking where you put your holes. So I'll see if anybody's up in a boot yet. If not, I'll get right to it. Cover some of the other stuff on my list of to-dos. So, let's see here. IWAR coverage real quick. Just we're doing well. We just did a tube cast Tuesday night, like 2 in the morning, I think we finished it. Because, we're all up late. So the tube cast will be probably posted maybe over the weekend. Usually it's right before the gold deadline. So, hello! Michael was also on that tube cast. That doesn't end. Unending tube cast. So this should be a fun little one. I want to thank everyone who's contacted me in the NWL and otherwise, but most NWL players who I asked to reach out and email me or contact me because it does make my job easier. Hello. When you're trying to connect a lot of in the NWL with a lot of players, it gets difficult. So the easier we make it, the better. So let's see here. Some of you know, I'm still moving. Not there yet, but you can see my living room's my way station. And that there was actually my first love, girlfriend in high school. When I was first getting into being a wrestler, she had it made for me. Or she made it for me. I forget which one. I think she made it for me. I don't think it would be like, yeah, I'll charge you $5 for this shirt. So anyways, that was my first ring name because, I wanted to be original. Let's see here. Some of you know I've had some health issues. So apparently it's harder to breathe when your esophagus/innards are not working well. So that's in the works. We'll figure that shit out. Let's see here. IWA changes. Some of you may have noticed or have voted already for the IWA changes to the bulletins. So things like how the rankings are presented, and one of the things that as a commissioner I get to see is the overall scores for the league. So you get strat totals, and I think I've shared most of you have seen that at some point, most likely. But if not, it's just a sheet of paper, well, the PDF or document that just shows 500, who had 500 or 501 and so forth, all the way down to the jobbers, and then the tag teams and the six-man teams. Someone had asked me in one of their emails to me personally and said, hey, I think they thought I was out of UA. They emailed a bunch of suggestions for the game. I'm like, I pass it along. But one of their suggestions was, why don't we do tag team records? Have a tag team and six-man teams. And the easy answer is, it's just there's too many teams. It'd be one thing if there was designated teams, like you couldn't team with anybody else, but in the IWA you can team whoever you want. So that makes it easier, I guess. So that's one of the changes of the rankings, and the latest vote was for two things. One is for guest referees, which I guess if it really makes a difference, it doesn't. It's one of those little minor things. There's a whole bunch of proposals. It's a nice little to-do, but I'd say all my years of scrolling through and looking at it, maybe 3 times I've ever noticed that someone oh, one of my rules was the referee, and it cost me a match. This wasn't big on my list of oh yeah, so if it goes away, fine. The other vote is to, as I mentioned, the strats, is to post each wrestler's score on the rankings. So you'd have their name, their record, their strat for that month, the score, and then their ID number. I'm all fine for that. That's great. Whatever. It's great. Not the end of the world. Just means a little more digging for me sometimes, but it's one of those things to think about. So do vote and speak up. Some people said, oh, what are you going to vote for me? I really don't give a shit. I mean, as long as I have the information and it's there when I need it, great. Otherwise, I'm just going to be chasing my tail. So, yeah, that's that. So let's see, voting covered. Oh, the IWA report. So a little behind the scenes. Many, many moons ago, I had proposed an idea at IWA about putting a top 10 managers list on the report. And I think this came about 2014, 15 as an idea because the thing I always felt that if you play the IWA, you play for 2 reasons. Either you play as the creative style to see the name of the wrestlers you created do well, or you play for the rivalry aspect to play against other players to be like, aha, I kicked your ass, and see your name in print. And it's more about you, um, playing. For instance, is a bad analogy, but like if you play Call of Duty or those online games, you have an online persona, like your screen name. I'm Riley1D20. Um, I play various figures in Star Wars Battlefront, but it's still me, So there are wrestlers and guys who manage tons of wrestlers, but it's still them and their points. So fast forward, last year I thought of this again, and I've often said that I think the most underutilized aspect of the game is the big roster guys. And then Mike Cook came along, kind of like I got it, and put it on his back and carried it. So about a month ago, I had this idea again, and I thought, well, looking at the NAL, I know Mike puts all the work in. This could happen, but it would really be about him doing the work. And I've often said that the reason more things don't happen in IWA is because people just don't want to do the work. Which is why you see these super duper leagues pop up, and they're like, holy crap, this is amazing. 4 months later, gone. So I always say find the happy medium. As a commissioner, side note, if you're going to be a commissioner, find a happy medium of how much work you can put in without driving yourself crazy, wearing yourself out, versus wanting to help people out. So anyways, I talked to Randall Angel about it. I was like, hey, I have an idea. I talked to the IWAR commissioners about it. And then I went to Mike Cook and said, hey, what do you think? And, well, my hair's terrible. Just took a shower, so I'm like a little messy today. Don't mind me. Oh, that didn't help at all. No, whatever. So anyways, Mike was like, yeah, they're up for it. Let's do it. So email. I was actually in the hospital when this exchange was going on with IWA. Hey, Catfish. And here's the thing. I sent them two different things. And the first thing they got right back to me and were like, no, and here's why. And I was like, okay, great. And then nothing on this idea. And when you're sending them an idea, nothing is better than something because it means you're thinking about it. And they got back to me, I think, a day and a half later, and they were like, expressed their concerns. And their biggest concern was that putting these two lists, which the two lists are, by the way, the top 20 managers for the year and the top 20 stables for the year. And the idea being that we can put some attention to those guys that really, they battle it out, and their names are in the reports all the time, track it. And the other side of the coin, they were afraid of hurting people's feelings, or, people won't know who the top 20 are. And it's like, well, no, the earnings, wins, and stars have been well earned, and a lot of money's gone to build those records. Don't get me wrong. But they don't really change month to month. I mean, I know Money Driven Mike Sebastian, Dwayne Salmon's wrestler in the BRL, he is one guy in the game, by the way. He puts in a ton of matches for him, and he's trying to get him wins, up in that wins ranking. And what I always think about is that it would take someone probably 5 years of just pummeling, obliterating in-league records for matches sent in. If you were in the NWL back in 2014 and 13, the Izzy Crazy, the Brothers in Question, that's what they're called. They sent in a shit ton of matches. I mean that, and no joke, they were a machine. So the idea is that these top 20 lists that exist now will go to the online world. And so when you see the bulletin or the IWA report online, you'll see all those lists and they're anyways. I think that was part of it. And then twice a year in January and June, you'll see all the 5 lists in print. So it's a way of being hey, because you can make some ground up. Maybe Mike Sebastian might climb from 8th to 6th, inching way up. So part of the way this works is Mike has a pretty comprehensive system of ranking players by performance when it comes to IWA report. And that's what these lists are built off of, is IWA report hits, not in league. So if you're I've been a 7-time league champion in 8 cycles, why am I not in the top 20 list? Did you win a report? Title? No? Okay, well, that explains that. So just so you know, that's where we're going with this. It just started this cycle now. So if you go look at the report for this winter cycle, you'll see it. And it's just a way of recognizing players. And stable wise, kind of a second side of the story or third side, is for years I've been critical of the stable race. I've been always like, I don't buy it. Like it's the same thing with like stablecade. It's a 1 month or one cycle shot where you have a hot cycle and everyone's like, woo! Which, by the way, if I was out of the way and I really wanted to be a dick, I would hold stablecade the same exact cycle that they do the whole reset. So everyone's in the same boat. I mean, people after go iron and steel will know the reset's coming, so I'll have a little bit of advantage. But overall, it's just be fun to watch that. So, anyways, the point I was trying to make was that I felt stables would be more viable, or a stable race would be more legit if it was, on the same playing field. Now, I know we're not there yet. Where like I would, if it was me, let's just, next time you guys want to throw out the idea that I have some monstrous idea, if I were the one in charge of stables, I would cap them at like 8 players each, max, or 7, like some kind of number where it's more like a baseball squad, or you have to like, if you want to bring somebody in, you got to kick somebody out. That's how you make some rivalries. Like if you listen to the Howie Sandberg podcast he did with IWA Flip, he talked about how they used to do legit like turns on people. Yeah, it was fun listening to me for just a little side note. It's a fun listen, particularly for me because it's Howie Sandberg's time in the game was almost identically placed the time that I was out of the game. So for me, it was like, oh, I didn't know this stuff. Like I'd heard certain, Zach Mercy or certain names or things that happened. So for me, it was like, okay, that's pretty cool. It's a good listen. It's fun. But some of the things he talks about is those personal like stab in the back, someone kicked out of a stable or setting somebody up. Which, by the way, I will reveal here. I once had the idea to do a stable cade and join someone's team and then tank all my strats just to piss somebody off. But that wouldn't be nice. Would have been funny though. Anyways, they dropped the bottom strats anyway, so it doesn't matter. But so we're gonna have top 20 wrestlers, top 20 stables. That's gonna be rolling and more frequent because you see, so ultimately the hope is that players who are already good know they're good and they're gonna be up there anyways. But the players that are up and coming might break through. Like for example, I had a good early spring last year, and then I just fizzled out. But some of you guys might break through, and it's a way to get noticed. It's a little bit something different. So hopefully it'll work well. I think it was in one complaint. I don't even mention his name. You know exactly who complained and bitched because that's all they do. And then at the end of the day, they were like, "Oh, Ashes actually is pretty good." And like, of course it is. So, all right. So just so we know that covered too. All right. So, report. Oh, if you're in Boston and you're going to go to the AEW show on April 15th, I'll be there. I managed to get tickets. They're not very good tickets. My seats are, if you're walking down the entrance, I'm at the upper deck all the way the other way around. So no one's waving to me. I'm not getting a t-shirt sent to my section. Tubecast talked about, and we talked about. Okay, so a couple of things real quick. The Four Corners Invitational and the VAR Classic 3 will be starting, I believe, this cycle. So there were 80 wrestlers signed up for the Four Corners Invitational, which is pretty cool. I don't know. Sorry. Don't know. I think I'm around 60. The Johnny B Cup, 13, 45, 48, 52, 74 wrestlers in the Johnny B Cup as of this moment. And that starts in April. Whoa, I hit the wrong button. The Murano Memorial, 8, 12, 28, 37, 38. So time for that. Get more teams in. Those are pretty much all set. So if you're in those, fantastic. If you're not, still a little bit of time. I'm building my brackets. After this cycle plays out, I'll build the brackets and go from there. In the Johnny B Cup, one thing we're doing differently is for I think for 2 years we did it. I built it off of total wins. So if like St. Lucia had 1,000 wins and your guy had like 10 wins, they'd probably go head to head. Kind of like March Madness, like top seeding, 16 versus one, 2 versus 15, so forth. What I'm going to do this time is use stars. So the stars your wrestlers have earned will determine their ranking, and like it might be kind of blurry because after a while it's like there's a lot of guys are like 10s and a lot of guys are like 30s. Um, just be aware that's what I'm trying to do with that. I'm trying to make it a little more interesting. It's going to be across the IWAR. So you might have someone from the BBL facing an NWL, a BRL facing a CWL, etc. So let's see. Anyone else? Good questions? Yeah. Yes, it will be crazy, Mr. Swanson. Uh, I have to tell you, my point to the screen reminded me. I've been cleaning and I found a ton of old pictures, even pictures of me wrestling. But I found a tape that Scott Franklin sent me years ago, and it's a mix of ECW, NWA, and North Georgia wrestling. I can't wait to send these to Alex to have him get them on, or somehow get them on YouTube so you can check these out. North Georgia wrestling is awful. It's abysmal. It is what bad aspires to be. It's pretty terrible, but it's fun too. It's like it's so stupid. All right, so I get that. All right, so what we're here to talk about. Oh, I almost forgot one important little thing. This is a little preview. This right here, I'll zoom it in, is IWA Supercard #1. You can probably pause it if you want to see this. This was in Wrestling World magazine back in 1988, and they they just had people face off and like just printed the results. I don't know there was any real like I don't remember that very much at all, except for that happening and being like, how did that happen? But for those of you from the newer times, the Wrestling World magazine was one of those like glossy wrestling mags, had a lot of like around the rings stories and blood and guts. And the IWA advertised in that magazine. And they would have a contest called Mr. Wrestling World, and the winner would get a picture of themselves and their wrestler talked about, and they're winning whatever. And Frank Morano won it. Scott Franklin won it. I think Dave Shinkus won it. Someone who might know better than I would. I think he won it too. They only did like 3 or 4 of them. David the Brain Shinkus. That's probably ringing bells with some of the older managers or veterans. So let's get to it. The nice pen I got from my Secret Santa at work. If you go on Instagram and look up the hashtag BailArt, you'll see my random scribblings at work. All right, so what we're talking about today is hold placement. And it's one of those things you don't really think about until you go, I almost had a perfect strategy. And you're like, ah! Personally, I almost never bother trying to go with the perfect strategy, which is probably why I never hit them. So I'm going to try it this cycle. I'm going to give it a try and try to do this, what I'm doing here today. So I'm going to start off with holding it right. All right, so here we have the top 10 for this month. So we have the 5 and 8 and the 40-63. Those are what I consider greens. Absolutely going to use. Okay. The 25 we're going to use. That's a matter if it goes to 30 or if it goes down to 28. It could do either. But what you do is you figure out your odds. Now, if you go to the online page I have for this, that is the online workshop page, you'll see on the left side of the page I have like this right here. And then next to it, I have these numbers. So this case, 30 came from 29-27. Now, why is that important? It's important because I use it personally to think the people picking the numbers, or however their numbers are being picked, likely won't follow the same exact combo. They don't usually do that. 27 for most of the last year, one of the 27s went to 30. So for the sake of this month and playing it, I'm going to try to hit 501. I'm going to play it safe and do the odds and go one of the 27s at number 2. I'm going to pick. So I'm going to build my strategy here, and what I use, I'm actually going to use for one of my wrestlers. So if I do terrible, we'll all know together. So I'm going to use 25 at 1. I'm going to assume 25 goes to 1. Now, That's a 25 hold, not 25 value. So next up, I want to figure out one of the 27s. I'm going to play that one of the 27s is going to go up. All right. So I'm going to say that, look at 59 and 45. 45 used to be a really, really good hold, like really strong. And then it kind of fell off the face of the earth. And it came back, and now it's kind of like, So, I don't know, right? So 59 has been super consistent last year. It was only down to 25 one time, I think, in the last 16, 17 cycles, maybe twice. But it's been almost always like 26, 27, 28, 29. It wasn't 30. I think it was 30 like once or twice, but really it's like this kind of like, So I'm going to play the odds and say that we're going to say 45, which came from 26. He's going to make the leap to 30. So I'm going to go 25, 45 as my first two. How's that, all right? So get those, use that. Now, these 12 numbers here, we're only picking 10. So next I'm going to go, okay, I've highlighted this middle part in yellow. And these two, 9, 10. All right, so these are the really hardest ones we're picking because if you're picking perfect, you need to start well with 20, with 30-point holds. You finish with 26 in there. And for those of you that don't know, I should probably back this a little bit. What is perfect point flow? Well, in the IWA, perfect point flow is when the maximum hold value is at each spot. So what you see here, 30, 30, 29, 29, 28, 28, 27, 27, 26, 26, 45, 45, 44, 44, 43. Say that 5 times fast. That would be a perfect point flow for a single strategy. We're just going to focus on singles today, not tag team or 6-man, because I don't want to give you guys any more headaches than I already do. So you want to figure out in your head, and again, this is always in your head. And I think I've mentioned before in previous episodes that, to me, the IWA is about convincing yourself that A is going to happen, and being like, I'm my wrestler, number one wrestler, I want to do well. I'm giving my A strategy. And then after you finish, go, what if this happens? And okay, I'm going to go with B. And B gets your second strategy. So this is going to be my, I think I'll give this to Barry Stevens in the BBL, just because, why care? So next up, we got to figure out from these, what's going to go where. Okay, so we know where it came from. And knowing where it came from, you kind of can figure, okay, if the 28-point values came from 30 and 25, it's probably not going to be 30 again. And 28 could go 26. So I'm going to say, I'm trying to remember what I gave Barry this. Like, we really have Barry's picks. 22, 13. Okay. All right. So I'm going to say 1 at 9 for Barry. So I'm going to go, okay, 1 there. And then I'm going to say the other 26 will come from, I got to figure it out. I'm going to say it's going to go to, okay, here's a good example. Now, you bring this up too. 25 will never go higher than 29 points. And I don't think it's ever gone to 30 in my time. Similarly, 30 won't go to 25. It just won't. So I'm going to say 8 at the 10 spot. I might change this as we go along and figure out better ways to do it. But this came from 30. Now I'm going to say that for Barry's sake, I should mention this too and show you guys what the options are. So let's cover those so we're playing along at home here. So our options this month, get myself a table. We've got 29, 28, that's 22, 33, or 1 or 22. All right, next up we have 29, 26. Now, one thing to keep in mind too, The 25 is at 29, so you can eliminate every combo with 25 in it. All right, so just get that off your list. So 22, 31, and 22, 12. We've got ourselves a 28, 27, because yes, the 27s and the 28s dropped, which used to really bug me out when I was a tag, as my tag strats would go, but I'm getting away from that. I'm trying to be better. So we have 4 combos: 33, 59, 33, 45, which did drop 10 cycles ago as a combo pairing. 1 and 59, 1 and 45. All right. And then the last real viable combo is 27, 26. And that's 59, 31, 59, 12, 45, 31, 45, 12. All right, so I'm going to circle these. All right, so get back to normal here. There we are. All right, so that was going to be a mess to look at, but don't mind me. So our combo is 29, 28, 29, 26, 28, 27, and 27, 26. For Barry's sake, I'm going to go this for Barry, 22, 32. So they're neighbors, 26, 30. So we'll say that. So those are going to be the ones I'm not going to use. So now that I know what I'm not using, I can kind of figure out where I want to place everything else. It's not a bad way to do it. Figure out what you don't want to use first, and then fill in as you go. So 46.53. So I think a 25 hold goes to 29 this month. A 25 hasn't hit 29 in quite a while, like 5 or 6 cycles. So I'm going to say 46. So 46. And then 53, because I like to use them, I'm going to say it goes to 27. So 53. That makes sense so far? I'm trying to check your questions here. So you can kind of see what I'm doing here. So this is going to be Barry Stevens' strategy in the BBL. It's probably going to suck. You're welcome to try and use it. You can do well as I do or as bad as I do. So he's a regional champion, so he's got a shot at league championship. But so we got those out of the way. So now we're down to the ones I haven't crossed off. So we've got 59 is going to go somewhere. So that was at 27. And so it's not obviously going to repeat as 27. So I'm going to say if one 27 goes to 45, the other one goes to 28. So I'm going to put 59 at 5. All right, so now we're getting down. I haven't used 5 yet, the other 30. So I'm going to say 30 goes to 27. So 5 there. And that leaves us 31 and 12. So 12 was at 28 previously. So it went up, then it went down. It can go up again. I'll say it goes to 12 to this spot and 31. So now you're saying, okay, that's the front 10. What now? Well, now you're in trouble. So, remember how on this sheet here I spent all that time saying, whatever you do, don't use 42. For the love of God, don't use it. People in the streets screaming, protesting, don't use 42. It's evil. 42 will kill your strategy. You want to use 42 this cycle. I don't know which one, but iron and steel had a 42 go to 45. And I was talking to Randall, and Randall pointed out to me that 95% of the time, or some ridiculous number, if iron and steel have a 42 go to 45, every other cycle, every other Fed does too. So, knowing this, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plant my 45 holds. So, I talked about those. So, previous cycle, 45 came from 90 and 65. 44 came from 62, 63. 43 from 73 and 67. 83 and 61 came to 42, and 85, 61 to 41. Now, I know I spent the whole last episode, or was it one before that, like saying, please don't use 42. If you look at the odds, it's not worth it. Here's Mike's advice is to, so Mike's suggesting here, so you can't see it or not, but is he blank or question mark, question mark. So 42, and then your 45s here. Now, I was a long-time user of 45 at 13-14, and figured I'd gamble and try to shoot for, a 43 at 15. So when you know the 45 is going to go 44, 43, you flip them, you might hit either way. So we're going to put 90 at 45. Hasn't been 43 in a while. But because of the 42 thing, I'm going to suggest they're not going to go nuts on us and go stable. I've always felt that the more screwy the front end, the better safe the back end is. And if it's like a back end's nightmare, front end's easy. So I'm going to say 90, 65. So we get those set. So right there, that's out of the way. All right. So now you say, let's just bite the bullet and figure out which of these two, 43, 83 or 61. Now, I'm going to make the case for each, and I'll tell you which one I'm going with. It says, that's how, cat, get out of here. Dude. Sorry. So, yeah. So, all right. So, let me pull up my thing here, and I'll show you. So, if I go to my short sheet where I have like the current holds, and I've got 8 cycles worth of data to go off. I always go 8 or so because I always figure anything more than that, I'm going to be confusing numbers. But as I like to say, there's a reason I've got one world championship, and those guys have 20. So, bear with me. So, 61. Here's why you want to use 61. 61 is 42. It was 41 before that. It was 43 before that, and 45. Now, 61 was a pretty strong hold for a while. I think that one's it's a following. It's atomic leg drop now. And it'll probably go up and get back and being strong again. But wait, 83 was 42. And it was 44 before that, and was really in the dumps 41, 42, 41. Hasn't been 45 in a long time. As a general hunch rule, I tend to go with the hold that hit 45, the most recent, as the one that I would go with. But that's why, So, I'm looking at Mike's thing here. So, I'm going to say 61 as I at 12 for my 42. It's a safe bet. Now, some of my wrestlers I've diversified. So right now of my roster, Turner has the BRL title and Tari has the IWL title. I'm going to gamble with both of them and give them different mixes of this combo. So I think Turner I'll probably give so if you look at this right and go, okay, well, here's 44, 62, 63. 63's been less, yeah. So I'm going to lean towards, bloody hell. I'm going to lean 62. What the hell? And then 43. So you have 73, 67. Now 73 is figure 4 leg lock. And I want to use 73. But, man, that 62, 61, 67 kind of thing has a kind of mojo to it, like all 60s but 90. This is the card of the game that sucks, right? Trying to narrow it down. So, Oh, this is where you agonize. You go, okay, which is going to be the safest move? So, all right, I'm gonna look at the holds again, just to kind of give myself another brief look. So, 63. I'm sorry, we're looking at 43. So 73, 67. So they're neighbors. They're both 43. Before that, 73 was 45, and 43 before that, whereas 67 was 42 and 44 and 45. 73's come back on. Hell with it. I'm gonna use 73. You know what could go so wrong? I hope it's not 501. So there you have. So again, this is going to be my Barry Stevens strategy. So you can look at this, either go, oh my God, he hit 501 on the show, or you can go, wow, that was a 487. The Orange Cassidy. So, picking your holds, and I hope this kind of made sense in a way. If you see Barry Stevens with a league championship in the BBL, we'll know it worked. I think it's important to try different things with your strategies. I was talking to someone the other night. I think it was, I don't remember who it was, but I was talking about when you take risks with your strategies, and how I really feel that when I've gambled, it's paid off. With Atari especially. I don't know what it is about Ali Atari, the Arabian Dream, but man, when I would try juggling the back end and do something like this, where I would go with a 42 or 41 at some spot, and be like, what am I doing? And like last cycle, the last minute I changed the strategy up right before I sent it in. I was like, and did something different. League title. So that's good. But to me, I'd like to make the report. And that's kind of the difference. Like if you're going to make the report, you got to put a little more work in. And it's a matter of, trying. And don't be a dick. It's Martini. Hey. Hey. She's a good cat, as far as cats go. She just hates the mailman for some reason. She's very loud. Banking at 487. That's right. Let's see what else we got here. Actually, we're under time. I would always just suggest, like I say, convince yourself that option A is the way to go, so you feel good about it, and then take option B and go with that. So if you have multiple wrestlers, it's a little easier to do. I know we have Mike Sebastian, top of my head. One of the guys I know has Jordan Drake, that he has. They have one wrestler in the league. So Jordan Drake winning the Battle Royal and Regional last month was big. He'd been in a slump for a while, so What? I win 42. I use 42. Get off my ass. Oh, this one. It's Gato Barbero. If you know the BRL, you know who. Yeah, we're gonna talk about tag strategy next issue, or maybe the issue episode, maybe after that. But it's just I don't want to overwhelm anybody. But again, if you have topic ideas, some people have sent me some ideas, and I'd like to cover them eventually. Somebody asked about a promo show, so I can talk about that. That's a little more my ballpark. As always, this show is kind of my way of trying to help people find their way. I know that IWAR can be a big thing to take into, and I was talking to Mr. Cook the other day and was saying he went was it 2 years, Mike? He went without running a regional, and he still stayed in the game. That's dedication, man. I know, for me, I just want to get a regional belt. I just want to have a shot to win the title. I just want to be in the contention, and trying to get your score to be at the highest it possibly can. There's two purposes. One, you're going to win the match, hopefully win a title, And if you make that IWA report, that's pretty cool. You win some free matches, maybe a belt or something. It's cool. So we have these events coming up: the Von Erich Classic for the 6-man teams, the Four Corners Invitational for singles wrestlers, the Murano Memorial for tag wrestlers and tag teams, and the Johnny B Cup for singles wrestlers. The All Rookie Cup is just about loaded up. I actually have 16 names, but I have to wait because what happens almost invariably in NWL is you think you have some guy who's gonna be awesome, and then he vanishes on you, or this active guy drops off the face of the earth. Like White Elephant Senior in NWL was just he wasn't good score wise, but he was active. He trash talked, and he was in a bunch of feuds, and just fell off the face of the earth. And what I wonder is like a guy like that just wasn't winning. And we put these things out from the IWAR, like this workshop, and we have our videos, and we're and I always say, veterans help us put together stuff like this to help players have an easier time. So it's really a matter of just trying to help each other out. And what I find most part is most veterans are very willing to help new players as well. Right now, the NWL is loaded. I think I talked about this on Tubecast. Like we're loaded. It's amazing because after this class just went through, and we had all of these great guys coming out of the NWL, and now it's 4 or 5 months later, and we're loaded again. Amazing. Some really good guys. So anyways, I'll wrap it up here. But thanks to everybody. Thanks to Randall Angel, Mike Cook, my fellow IWAR commissioners, Derek Tuttle, Mike Swanson, Alex G, and myself. If you have any questions, fire them off. We're happy to answer them. We're working on those one-off shows for the IWAR Tubecast. We're probably going to do events first, kind of cover all the different big events we do and just kind of talk about the winners over the years. It's easier to do. It's like writes itself. We'll talk probably about the BRL, and like we're going to do all the histories. So you have like an IWL history, a BRL history, and so on. That's more one-off-ish. Alex is watching this going, I said what? Well, special thanks to Alex, who will take this recording and put it on YouTube for those players that are off the grid, which are more people than we realize. I always feel like that way we don't really know how many players actually play the game, but there's a lot of people who are off the grid that are like not on Facebook and they're not on email. I get the letters scanned from Attaboy sent to me. So, anyways, it's Friday morning. I still got to write 3 reports. So I will be cranking this weekend while I'm not at work, which is later today. So I hope everyone had some help out of this. Is there a link to the workshop page? Yes. Let me post it right here. It's usually I put it in there, but there's a workshop page. That lets you go and look at it. You can't edit it. That's the only thing I can do right now, but it's a good resource tool. And again, when Tuesday rolls around, gold posts. Kill some time with the IWA Ringside magazine, which if you have not read yet, I highly recommend this particular issue. We have some really great write-ups from the Royal Rumble to this Tuesday in Texas. Some of the stuff going on, just good coverage. So get involved. So thanks everybody. I will see you. Oh, let's see. Actually, figure out the next show. I think 4/14 is the next one. So if 4/14 is the next gold deadline, we will be 4/10, April 10th. So I'll be doing a show April 10th. I might be at a new location by that time because the real estate agent said this house should sell within a day. So good news that way. Other good news, I can now afford more belts. So anyways, I will talk to you guys later. Thanks to everyone watching. I'll talk to you later.